Hello there. If you have never opened Blender before, and you are an absolute beginner, this video is for you. We are gonna cover everything what you might need to set you off on your amazing journey in Blender. You can download Blender from its website for completely free, which is amazing. When you first open the program, this is what you will see. Click on General to start a new file. You can find the top bar at the top, the areas in the middle section, and the status bar at the bottom. The top bar contains the menus and the workspaces. Workspaces are essentially predefined window layouts for modeling, animating, texturing, etc. Note that in every workspace the toolbar is different. Blender's default startup shows the layout workspace in the main area. This workspace is a general workspace to preview your scene and objects and contains the following editors. 3D viewport on top left. Outliner on top right. Properties on bottom right. Timeline on bottom left. You can also resize these windows. Create new ones by splitting them with the right mouse button. And you can merge them back together again. In the middle you can find the 3D viewport. This is where the majority of the work will happen. The default startup file contains a camera, a cube, and a light. You can select object with the left mouse button in the 3D viewport, or in the scene collection, at the upper right corner. To add an object to your selection, press Shift and left click. For box selecting, simply click and drag with left mouse button. To deselect an object, hold down Ctrl and use box selecting. To select everything in your scene, press A. To deselect everything, press Alt and A. To navigate in the viewport, you can hold down the middle mouse button to rotate the camera. To move the camera, first hold down Shift, and then the middle mouse button. To zoom in or out, you can use only the mouse wheel, or hold down the left Control, plus the middle mouse button. You can also perform these actions with the navigation gizmo at the top right corner, the magnifying icon, and the hand icon. Feel free to try them out. To lock your camera to a certain angle, you can use your numpad 1 for front, 3 for right, and 7 for top. In each mode, if you hit 9, you will always get the opposite side of your current view. If you hold down the middle mouse button for rotating the camera, and also hold down the left Alt key, you can achieve the same result. Maybe it's easier for you this way. I think it's all for the navigation you have to know. So, let's talk about transforms. How can you transform your object? Simply select the object and press G for moving, R for rotating, and S for scaling. Use the right mouse button for canceling the transform. When you want to move on a certain axis, after pressing G, hit X, Y, or Z for locking the movement. Blue stands for the Z-axis, green stands for the Y-axis, and red stands for the X-axis. When holding down Shift, you can lock out one of the axes, so your object is moving along the other two. You can also start the transforms by pressing the G, R, or S buttons. Start the transform with your mouse, and then click the middle mouse button to lock the movement on one axis. Rotating and scaling works the same way as moving. Please go ahead and try the different key combinations. If the keyboard is too complicated for you, you can also enable the transform gizmos, one by one, or all of them in once. To reset your transform values on an object, open the side panel with the N button on your keyboard. Type in the default values, which is 0. For scaling, it's 1. You can also reset these settings at the right side in the Properties editor under Object Properties. You can also find your render settings here. The world properties where you can add your environment texture to the scene. Object properties. Modifier panel where you can add modifiers to your object. Particle and physics settings. Your object data properties. Note that this icon is different based on your selected object. You can set different settings here for different type of objects. And the material editor. Let's go ahead, select all with A, and then delete everything with X. To create new primitive objects, press Shift and A. In this menu, you can find all the primitives from meshes to cameras. Let's create a cylinder. To focus zoom on a selected object, press the numpad key. Quick tip, you can enable the wireframe display in the viewport overlay panel. This helps us to see better the topology. You can manipulate the basic structure of a primitive. Let's go ahead and create a few more objects. If you hold down Shift and click anywhere in the 3D viewport with the right mouse button, you can choose the position of the 3D cursor, which is indicated by the little white red circle. This is the point where your new objects are created. Let's also create Suzanne. You can isolate your selection with numpad/. Pressing it again will leave the Isolate selection view. Let's delete everything again. To reset your 3D cursor's position, press Shift and C. Now, let us see what are the basic tools to edit your mesh. With Shift+A, create a new box. With the Tab button, go into Edit mode. You can see the toolbar has changed, and your tools are appeared at the left side. With meshes, everything is built from 3 basic structures: vertices, edges and faces. With vertex selection mode you can select vertices, with edge selection you can select edges. And in face selection mode you can select faces. Each mode has a different shortcut. For vertex, press 1. For edges, press 2. And for faces, press 3. With the Extrude tool, you can extrude the selected faces. The shortcut for extruding is E. Press the left mouse button to confirm the modification. To select face loops and rings, hold down Alt, and then select a face. This method is the same for selecting edge loops, but don't forget to switch to edge selection mode. With the Inset tool, you can inset faces. The shortcut for insetting is I. Press I again to inset faces individually. Let's extrude the top face, so I can demonstrate the next tool, which is the bevel tool. With bevel, you can chamfer edges. Note that after every tool we used, this gray box appears, called the operator panel. Here, you can have more options to play with. Let's go back to the layout mode. Press Tab and create a new box. I will demonstrate a common beginner mistake while modeling. Zoom to your object with numpad period key, and scale down on the Z-axis by pressing S and then the Z key. Press Tab for edit mode. If you try to bevel the top edges, you can see that something is wrong. With Tab, go back to Layout mode and press N to open the side panel. Under the item menu, you can see that this object scale is not uniform. With non-uniform scale, the editing tools are not working as intended. You always have to keep that in mind. To fix this, select the object and press Ctrl+A. Apply the scale values to the mesh. As you can see, the scale values are back to normal. Now, this scaled down cube is no longer under a scale transform. This is its original size now. Now, we can correctly bevel the edges. Let's go back to our original object. The Loop Cut tool creates a loop of one or more edges along a ring of quad faces. Press Ctrl+R, hover your selected face, scroll the mouse wheel to change the number of cuts and click to confirm. Move your mouse to slide the loops. Left-click to confirm the position or right-click to center the cuts. The knife tool can be used to interactively cut up geometry by drawing lines. Press the right mouse button to create new cuts, and spacebar to confirm. Now, let's delete everything again by pressing A and then X to delete all. Let's see how can we use these basic tools to create basic shapes out of cubes. With Shift A, create a new box. Press S, then Y to scale it on the Y-axis. Press Tab to go into edit mode and add a new loop cut in the middle with Ctrl+R. Right mouse button to center it. If you make a mistake, you can always undo your last action with Ctrl+Z. With Edge Selection mode, select the middle edge and move it up a bit. Select the two faces on the top, then use Extrude along normals, by pressing a bit longer the Extrude tool with the left mouse button. Extrude the selected faces, then enable Offset Even in the operator panel. Select the side faces, press E to extrude them. Then press the right mouse button to snap the extruded faces back to their original place. Note that the extrusion happened, the faces just overlapping each other. By pressing the Alt plus S keys, you can scale the extruded faces along their normals. With Tab, go back to Layout mode. Create another cube. Scale it down a bit, then scale it on the Y-axis by pressing S and Y. Go into the front view by rotating the camera, then press the Alt key. Move the cube into position and enter Edit mode. With click and drag, select the two vertices in vertex selection mode. As you can see, you can't select overlapping geometry. To fix this, enable X-ray mode. Shortcut is Alt plus Z. Select the four vertices on the top with click and drag, then scale them down a bit, with S. Extrude the top face a bit, then move the side edge a bit closer to the center. Extrude the top face again. Now in Layout mode, move the mesh into place. Go back to Edit mode and extrude the top face again. Select the top face ring with Alt plus left click, and then press E for extrude, then right mouse button to reset the position of the extruded faces. With Alt plus S, scale them out along their normals. As you can see, the four sides are not equally scaling. That's because we forgot to apply the scale value. Go back to Layout mode, and with Ctrl A, apply the scale. Now, go back to Edit mode and use Alt S. Select the inner face and inset it with the I key. Then extrude it down. In Layout mode, create another cube. Move it in position and scale it down. More scaling on the X-axis, and before we start editing, apply the scale with Ctrl plus A. In Edit mode, select the top face and move it up a bit. Select the two edges on the side and with Ctrl plus B, chamfer the edges, and add more segments with the mouse wheel. Always move your objects in Layout mode. Select the front face, inset with I, and extrude with E. With Shift plus A, create an ICO sphere, and scale it down, then move it in position. Select the house, go into Edit mode, press 2 for edge selection, then with Ctrl plus R, add 2 loop cuts, and slide them slightly. Use S, then Y to move them closer to each other. Add 2 other loop cuts horizontally and scale them on the Z-axis. Press 3 for face selection mode in Set, then extrude the face. Maybe scale it down a bit. Go back to layout mode and create another cube. Just some more scaling and positioning. Apply scale with Ctrl+A. With Shift+D, you can duplicate objects. Press the right mouse button to reset its position. Press R for rotating and X for locking the movement on the X-axis. Type in 90 to rotate the object with 90 degrees. Congratulations! You have successfully created a house out of simple boxes just by using the basic tools in Blender. Of course, there are a lot more things to cover, but I hope I could help you out with the basics. I will provide a link to a shortcut cheat sheet down below, covering the key bindings you might need. I encourage you to learn them, as they help you speed up your modeling. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel for more advanced tutorials. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.